Hi everyone. So today I'm making a Power BI interview questions video. So I have framed around 28 questions and some of these questions were asked to me during one of my interviews and you can actually pause this video in between and answer the questions yourself. So let's get started. What Power Query transformations have you worked on? So, the Power Query transformations that I have worked on are the data type manipulation, splitting columns, appending and merging tables, adding conditional columns, custom columns, grouping the data, etc. What is the difference between duplicate and reference table? So when you create a duplicate of a table, then that table is no longer connected to your original table. If you update your original table, then the changes are not going to be reflected in your duplicated table. Whereas in reference tables, the tables are actually linked to one another, and updating your original table is going to reflect the changes automatically in your reference table. What is the difference between append and merge queries? So, appending is vertically stacking two tables which have same columns, and merging queries is horizontally joining two tables based on a common column which acts like a primary key. What modes of data connectivity have you worked on? Please explain the difference between them. So I have worked on all three modes of data connectivity: import, import mode, direct query, and the live connection. So import mode is the fastest among all three. It stores a duplicate copy of the data in its cache memory, and in direct query, Power BI is connected to the data source. Every time the user is interacting with the report, Power BI is querying back to data source to pull the necessary data to show it on the reports. Whereas in live query connection, which is only available for analysis services and for Microsoft Fabric, it is called as directly connection. So it is directly connected to your lakehouse or your analysis services, and it gives you an import mode like performance with real time data without actually storing a duplicate copy of your data. Table 1. So here's a scenario. Table 1 has ABC columns and table 2 has AB columns. Can you append these tables? So yes, you can append these tables, but after appending them, the records from table 2 are going to have null values for the column C. How many joins are there in Power BI? So in Power BI, we have six types of joins: the full join, inner join, left join, right join, left entire, and the right entire. How many rows will each type of join have in between these two tables? So the full join will have 4 rows, the inner join will have 3 rows, the left join is going to have 4 rows, the right join is going to have 3 rows, the left entire is going to have 1 row, and the right entire is going to have 0 rows. What is the difference between measures and calculated columns? So, measures are dynamic calculations that you create, which are dynamically calculated every time you interact with the reports, whereas calculated columns are columns that you create which are only recalculated on data refreshes. So, measures are stored as formulas with your data model, whereas a calculated column is a part of your table. It is a part of your table structure, and it also occupies some space in your model. What are conditional columns? So conditional columns, they allow you to have logic based values. So you can have an expression and then you can calculate a result as to whether that expression is satisfied or not. How can we create a conditional column with DAX? So you can create conditional columns with DAX by using the if function or the switch function. What is the difference between if and switch function? So for if function, you can have your expression can either be true or false, whereas in switch function, your expression can have multiple outcomes and you can have a result for each of these outcomes. Should one create a column in Power Query or data view? Does it affect the performance? So the performance actually depends on the complexity of your DAX or M code. But if you were to create a same column in Power Query or in DAX, then the Power Query one is going to give you a slightly better performance as this column is going to be calculated before the data is loaded in Power BI. What are iterator functions? So iterator functions, we have functions like SumX, AverageX. They let you have row by row calculations. So you can have an expression which is going to be calculated for each and every row before aggregating the result. What is the difference between sum and SumX? So sum function, it is directly going to aggregate the filtered data, whereas SumX, it is going to first calculate an expression for each and every row before aggregating the result. What is the difference between a table and a matrix visual? So a table visual, it is a 2D flat table, whereas a matrix visual, it is like a 3D table. You can have rows, columns and values, and can also create hierarchies, so it offers more complex analysis. Which filters can you use in your calculate function? So you can use multiple filters like column level filters. You can have you can add values of your columns like region equal to east, region equal to west, or you can have table level filters. You can use the filter function to filter a particular table, or you can use functions that alter the filter context like all function, or you can use remove filters, keep filters, etc. Mention some time intelligence functions. So we have dates MTD, dates YTD, dates QTD, same period last year, date add, etc. Explain MTD, QTD, and YTD function. So MTD stands for month to date, QTD for quarter to date, and YTD for year to date. So if you're using the total MTD or dates MTD function, it is going to give you data for the dates of current month till today. So today is 6th of November. So MTD is total MTD is going to give me data where my date is from 1st of November to 6th of November, whereas quarter to date is going to return me dates from this quarter till today. So this quarter started from 1st of October. So I'm going to get dates from 1st of October to 6th of November. And similarly, year to date function, it is going to give me data from the start of the year till today. So 1st of January till 6th of November. How can you group by your data in Power Query and with DAX? So in Power Query, you can use the group by feature which is readily available in your Power Query, and with DAX you can use the summarize function. What are fact and dimension tables? So fact tables, they hold your business numbers, and dimension table, they have more of a descriptive data that provides context to your fact table. So if your orders table is your fact table, then your products table is a dimension table. What is cardinality in Power BI? So cardinality is the relationship between the two tables. We have four types of cardinalities: one to many, many to one, many to many, and one to one. Can you explain the different types of schemas used in Power BI? So, in Power BI, we have two types of schemas: the star schema and the snowflake schema. In star schema, you have one fact table and multiple dimension tables, and in snowflake schema, your dimension table is normalized. So your dimension table is also going to have a dimension table. If here's a scenario, if we have two fact tables with a common text based column, how can we create a slicer that can filter the data of both the fact tables? So we have two fact tables which have a common column, and the two fact tables are not connected to one another, and with one slicer we want to filter the data from both of these fact tables. So you cannot directly connect this column from the two fact tables because it is going to cause a many to many relationship, which we tend to avoid to have a better performing model. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a bridge table with all the values of this common column, and we are going to connect this bridge table to both the fact tables, and we're going to create a slicer with the column from this table. So it is going to filter data from both the tables. What are incremental refreshes and when do we use them? So incremental refresh is when you don't actually reload the entire model, but you refresh only the latest data. We can use them when we have a lot of historic data, and refreshing all of the data is just going to consume a lot of time. So also your historic data should not change, so it is not going to be a scenario of slowly changing dimensions where your data changes. So your historic data is going to just stay as it is, and you're only going to refresh your latest data. So you can refresh data from last month, the last week, etc. How to hide data from certain users? Say I have three countries: USA, UK, and India, and people from India should see data for India only and respectively. So in Power BI Desktop, you can create roles for each of these countries, and then after publishing the report on service, you can assign your users with these roles manually. So this is row level security. What are some uncommon DAX functions that you've used in your reports? So the uncommon DAX functions that I have used so far are use relationship function and rankx function. They are not really uncommon. They're just functions that you used for more complex scenarios. Do you ensure data accuracy? So to ensure data accuracy, I validate my reports against my data source. So I check my totals and my calculations by running SQL queries against my data source to check if my calculations are accurate. Can you optimize the performance of your Power BI reports? So you can optimize the performance of your Power BI reports by limiting the number of records, by deleting the unused columns. You can also have not have too many visuals on a page, and you can also run the performance analyzer to identify the slow spots. Thank you for watching this video, and all the best for your interview.